Hi everyone, I am Mandy Jacobs and my research proposal is going to be on bullying policy variances in low SES versus high SES elementary schools. So my research question for this quantitative study that I'm going to do is, do bullying policies vary between low socioeconomic and high socioeconomic elementary schools within the community? I was drawn to this topic because the California Education Code Section 35294 requires that each school in California develop and implement a school safety plan for bullying to protect the students, but they don't have any specific guidelines that every school must follow to make that happen. So it's at each school's discretion as to what kind of policy they want to implement, how strict they want it to be, as long as at the end of the day they are, obeying the California Education Code and that the students are protected from bullying instances or situations. So some of the literature I found thus far, this article called Racial and Ethnic Stereotypes and Bullying Victimization, I thought was interesting because it's a longitudinal study that indicates stereotypes linked to family SES, test scores, and sports participation have an impact on bullying in racial and ethnic groups. And more specifically, the children in these racial and ethnic groups that don't conform to kind of the general stereotypes that are expected within those groups are victims of bullying by their peers. Another article I thought was interesting was specifying type and location of peer victimization in a national sample of children and youth. This study was focused on 6 different forms of peer victimization: assault, sexual victimization, physical intimidation, property crime, and internet harassment. And the results showed that each type of victimization was related to increased trauma symptoms, which I thought was worth noting, and also that emotional victimization had the strongest effect, followed by physical assault, which was surprising to me. Emotional victimization and sexual harassment are most likely to occur at school. A large percentage of emotional victimization incidents are known to school authorities but are not directly punished due to the perception that emotional victimization is less damaging than physical victimization. I also think personally that schools have a harder time proving, if you will, emotional victimization. I think that when a kid walks into the office with a black eye, that's easy to punish. There was obviously proof there of physical altercations. But with emotional victimization, it's a lot of he said, she said, and it's just harder to kind of pin down. But unfortunately, it's been found to be actually more traumatizing than getting into a physical fight. Individual characteristics and the multiple contexts of adolescent bullying in ecological perspective. This is adolescence, but I still thought it was worth noting in my research proposal because it suggests that bullying increases among children who watch TV frequently, lack teacher support, have themselves been bullied, attend schools with unfavorable environments, have emotional support from their peers, and have teachers and parents who do not place high expectations on school performance. So I thought this would be interesting to kind of see if my study backs this up, because unfortunately I think a lot of those qualities are found more on a low SES elementary school campus. So it'll be interesting to kind of compare. Another article, Perceptions of People in Place, Young Adolescents' Interpretation of Their Schools in the United States and United Kingdom. Another thing I thought was interesting to note, because the school that was studied in the US for this research was a low SES school in Cleveland. And basically it talks about how those kids were all very afraid of physical violence at their school, and there was verbal threats and intimidation, but that the UK students basically deal with their bullying is verbal intimidation and not very physical. And they feel significantly safer within their school environment. So again, this is just another kind of low SES school environment research thing worth noting. Another study, Individual and School Predictors of Middle School Aggression, that proactively aggressive children growing up in low SES communities, again, in which violence is prominent, may learn that aggression is a coping response. Even though this is middle school, I think this is important because it also says that the value of attempting school change, which may be especially important for low-income students in violent communities, is very high, and that reduction of aggressive behavior and intervention before middle school is critical if aggression is to be diminished. So what's being done at the elementary school level to kind of reduce that aggressive behavior in a low SES elementary school. Another one, functions of parental involvement and effects of school climate on bullying behaviors among South Korean middle school students. South Korea, obviously, but still interesting because it basically shows that parental involvement in school can create a positive school climate, and that positive school climates reduce bullying behaviors at school. One of my questions in my survey is about how involved the parents are. And in terms of bullying incidences. So the way I'm going to go about this is a survey will be sent to elementary school teachers, grades kindergarten through 5th, at a low SES elementary and a high SES elementary within my area. The survey will have 10 questions regarding bullying policy, parental involvement with bullying, administration support regarding bullying interventions, and the teacher's training level regarding bullying interventions. I just included some sample questions there that you can look at. And I will collect the data until I get 40 teachers to fill out surveys. Ideally, 20 at each school. If I have to cast a wider net and pull in more teachers, I have kind of 2 other schools standing by, another low SES and another high SES elementary school with very similar demographics to the initial low and high elementary schools I'm going to survey the teachers at. So that is what I have so far, and I really appreciate any feedback you guys can give me. Thanks so much.